Like you said, I counted the spaces.
Why?
In case the ghost is trying to communicate. I'm trying Morse.
Morse?
Yeah. Dots and dashes used.
I know what Morse code is, Murph. I just don't think your bookshelf's trying to talk to you.
Foreshadowing. It's one of those storytelling tools that, when done right, makes a story infinitely more satisfying. But what's it actually for? Why do writers use it? And more importantly, how do you use it effectively without tipping your hand too soon? When I first started writing, I understood that foreshadowing was simply telling the reader what's about to happen in the story. It could be a small moment later down the line, something major to the plot but not so major that it takes up so many chapters. Or it could be just that. It could be something that changes the whole direction of the story. I understood what foreshadowing was, but I didn't know how to use it.
Oh, that's Tomo, the Metal Menace. He's not the hero, he's the villain. He's not like you. You're a good guy. Like Superman.
What ended up happening was that I thought of foreshadowing as an inciting incident. It's an event or piece of information that leads to something. But that simply isn't the case most of the time. Great foreshadowing is subtle and it leads the reader to understand something's going to happen, sometimes even in a metaphorical sense rather than a literal sense. Now, this foreshadowing can build tension, establish tone, or provide your reader with some big reveals. It could be the subtle clue at the beginning of the story that gives you the answer to this incredible mystery. Or it could simply be that little bit of information that keeps the reader on edge. For example, a character accidentally revealing that they have a gun. This is one of the most popular forms of foreshadowing, Chekhov's gun, which simply states that the gun, once revealed, will be used at some point in the story. The reader, understanding that the character has the gun, expects that gun to be used by said character or another character later in the story, and that adds tension, especially when conflict arises. But in my early days, I was always so eager to make use of Chekhov's gun that the moment a foreshadowing moment happens, I immediately jump onto it and get straight to the point. So if a gun is revealed, you can bet in the next few moments it is going to be used. Certainly, many stories that I have written would have a lot more impact and subtlety if said gun was used later on, in a more poignant fashion.
Insomnia, nothing's real. Everything's far away. Everything's a copy of a copy of a copy.
Of course, foreshadowing doesn't always have to be so subtle. Foreshadowing could be the writer in some way telling the reader exactly what's going to happen. It could be a character saying it will happen, and that simply makes it happen. It could be a character telling a prophecy, in which case we already know what's going to happen. The characters always fulfill some kind of prophecy. Of course, it doesn't always have to be so subtle. It can be very on the nose. You could have a character tell another character exactly what's going to happen later in the story. And it could be a small moment, just a single sentence. But it's that sentence, while seemingly inconsequential, may in fact give away the entire story. Perhaps even the twist.
You were telling me the truth back in Baltimore, sir. Please continue now.
Well, I've read the case files, have you? Everything you need to find him is right there in those pages.
And tell me how.
First principle.
The difficulty comes in understanding how to present it and what to do after that. As I said earlier, my first mistake was simply jumping upon foreshadowing without actually letting there be some build-up later in the story. As a result, it's not really foreshadowing, but a series of small inciting incidents that lead into what happens next. So, once you start foreshadowing something in your story, keep it short and don't jump on it straight away. Present it, let it slip into the back of the reader's mind, make it seem so inconsequential or ludicrous that it really isn't paid a second glance, and then present it once again when the actual event happens. As with many topics I discuss on writing, it also helps to have a look at some examples, be it in movies, series, or books. Look at how other writers present foreshadowing. There are so many great examples out there to look at, some of which I've showed already in this video. You can do a lot with foreshadowing, and it's up to you to decide how that small moment impacts your story and the reader. It could be a cool momentary thing, or it could be everything to do with the plot. Speaking as a writer, it also leads to one of the most subtle moments that you can enjoy when writing a novel. Once you have struck that balance between clarity and subtlety, between the setup and the payoff, it's a difference between a twist that feels earned and one that feels forced. Done well, it's like magic. Done poorly, it's a gimmick. So if you're writing, ask yourself, am I leaving the breadcrumbs my audience will follow, or am I giving them the whole loaf too soon? This isn't just a skill that mystery authors need to have. Every genre has the potential to include its own foreshadowing elements, and in many cases, foreshadowing can make or break a story.